Good morning and welcome to the June 6, 2022 workshop of the Orlando City Council. Today we're going to be focusing on permitting and development services, which is one of our very core services and one where we interact with the public, making it easier for our residents and our businesses to be able to use our permitting services is something that we work on every single day, and we have made huge strides over the last several years. And even during the course of COVID, we had put a lot of our city services online, including permitting services, and that was such a blessing. We didn't miss a beat during the course of those 2 years. In fact, our permitting remained steady during the first year and actually increased during the second year of COVID. So we wanted to update the council and the public on what we've been doing there. So I'm going to call on Lillian Payne, our Deputy Director of Economic Development, to begin the presentation. Lillian.
I'm happily filling in for Brooke today. I think she is whitewater rafting down the Colorado as we speak, so probably having a much better time, but
I've seen a few pictures on Facebook, so I think that's true.
get the presentation up. Okay. Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. This morning, we will provide you with an update on the city's permitting and development services with an emphasis on our activity levels and reporting strategies that we've developed since our last presentation to you in April of 2019. The presentation will include an overview of the permitting and development services function with a look at recent service enhancements. In addition, we will touch on challenges that we face and opportunities for improvement. We will conclude our presentation with an update on activity levels, including innovative ways that we are presenting our data to meet the needs of all of our customers. The City of Orlando Permitting Services Division, a function of the Economic Development Department, is a customer-focused team responsible for ensuring compliance with the city's Land Development Code, City Code, City of Orlando Engineering Standards Manual, Florida State Statutes, Florida Building Code, and State of Florida Fire Prevention Code, all within the following areas: plan review, inspections, business tax receipt, right-of-way permits, platting, and alcoholic beverage licenses. As part of our commitment to our customers, our development services process is structured as a one-stop shop, allowing our customers to access all departments and disciplines in one location. While our customers interact with one office, internally, the process is reliant on 6 city departments, including 10 divisions. Just as an example, one building permit can require reviews by 15 disciplines. In addition, the development services process utilizes many technology systems which require a significant level of support from the city's Information Technology Office. Here with us today, we have representatives from many of these departments and divisions. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank each department that is a part of our process. They provide the highest level of service each day to our customers. Our robust activity levels are evidence of this team's hard work and dedication. In addition, I want to give a special thank you to the Information Technology Office and our own EDIS team that work behind the scenes day and night to keep our technology systems updated and running smoothly. Since 2019, the Permitting Services Division has implemented operational improvements targeted at enhancing the customer's experience. In the next few slides, we will review some recent enhancements. In mid-2019, we created a shared portal between the city and Orange County to allow for the digital processing of both city and county business tax receipts for city businesses. This collaboration allows city businesses to digitally apply for and receive their city and county BTRs without having to visit either office. It streamlines the process for our customers by having one document portal for both city and county BTR documents. Similarly, in May of 2020, we upgraded the permitting system to have certain residential trade permits, such as mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and re-roof permits, to auto-issue. Once the applicant pays this permit fee, the system auto-generates the permit and emails it to the customer. Trade permits account for a significant number of the permits we issue. Having the system auto-issue these permits saves staff time and expedites the process for our customer. Another enhancement that was primarily driven by the COVID-19 pandemic was the creation of virtual appointments. Virtual appointments provide an alternative tool for customers wishing to have a one-on-one interaction with a permitting staff member. Since launching this service in July of 2020, permitting staff has conducted over 350 of these virtual meetings. A similar enhancement, which was introduced during the pandemic, was virtual inspections. At the height of COVID, permitting inspectors were challenged with finding creative ways to accommodate homeowners that needed inspections but did not necessarily want anyone in their home. At that time, inspectors got creative and used photos and FaceTime to meet the immediate needs of our customers. In December of 2020, we officially launched a process for requesting virtual inspections for certain residential permit types. Although we've had limited success with these, we continue to explore ways to market this service and make it attractive to contractors. In response to high call volumes and long wait times on the phone, in April of 2021, the city's permitting office launched a cloud-based call center that allows for multiple agents to be signed in from any location and allows for swift ramp-up of staff during high call volumes. This call center has many features, but the most popular with our customers is the ability for them to provide a callback number while on hold and not lose their place in line. This feature saves our customers time, and since launching our new call center, our customer service agents have handled over 53,000 calls. As part of our strategy to provide the highest level of customer service, the Economic Development Department has transitioned a position to focus specifically on our high-impact customers. As one of our department's deputy directors, Tim Johnson, a licensed architect, oversees the planning and execution of these high-impact projects. Tim serves as the direct point of contact for the clients listed here, which represent over 18,000 acres of land within the city. Their projects combined have invested over $1 billion in construction value over the last 4 years. Challenges. With any regulatory operation comes its share of challenges, and while we strive to provide a high level of customer service, we are aware of the constant challenges affecting our office. One challenge worth mentioning is the diverse customer base that we serve. Just to name a few, our customers can range from single-family property owners, high-rise developers, small business owners, in addition to industry-specific applicants such as architects, engineers, surveyors, and contractors. Finding creative and effective solutions for such a broad customer base continues to challenge us. It would be difficult to get through this presentation without mentioning the uncertainty and challenges that can be brought on by the state's legislative sessions. In some instances, legislative mandates can have wide-reaching impacts to the process and operations. Many times, these mandates divert our attention from our goal of issuing permits in a timely manner to quickly finding ways to implement an unfunded mandate. One example is House Bill 1059. This bill was signed by the governor in June of 2021 and became effective on October 1st of that year, giving us about 90 days to update our systems. This law requires the city to reduce permit fees by a certain amount for each day that the city fails to meet the statutory time period for reviewing a building permit application. In order to comply with these shot clocks, a significant amount of staff time along with financial resources were expended. Bills such as this can have a significant impact on resources. Another example are the statutory limitations associated with the Building Code Fund. Florida Statute 553.80 limits the use of building fund revenues, including the revenue amounts that can be carried forward. This statute states that building fund revenues shall only be used for carrying out the local government's responsibility in enforcing the Florida Building Code. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, the process to review, issue, and close out a building permit can require reviews by multiple disciplines. But due to the limitations in the statute, we are unable to utilize these revenues to support some of these services. Workforce challenges are affecting many employers these days, and we are not immune. Most of the workforce within the Permitting Services Division consists of licensed plans examiners and construction inspectors. As these individuals retire, the process to fill these vacancies is becoming increasingly difficult. A limited pool of qualified applicants and a competitive market has made it difficult for the public sector to recruit within this niche industry. The overall workforce shortages related to the COVID-19 pandemic has only exacerbated this issue. With challenges, we also have opportunities for improvement. The next slide lists several opportunities that are in the pipeline for implementation in the near future. Currently, we are working with the city's communications office and information technology office on a chat feature for certain development service pages on our website. The chat feature will allow staff to reach out to customers that are navigating our websites. The goal of this proactive outreach is to quickly identify questions that customers may have and immediately provide them with the information they are seeking. As you know, Project Docs is the digital platform used by our customers and staff for the upload and review of digital plans and documents. This fall, we hope to launch a series of 1-minute videos that will be available on YouTube as tutorials for key tasks required in the upload process. The videos will be aimed to correct the most common mistakes for customers that our customers make when working in Project Docs. This is important because many of the mistakes that customers can make add significant delays to the permit process. As part of our recent Infor upgrade, we are in the process of finalizing the online application processor, which will eliminate the need for face-to-face interactions and allow customers to complete certain applications online and submit directly to the system rather than emailing a completed application to our staff. This upgrade will help in reducing errors, streamlining the overall process. We are on track to launch these online applications in late summer. We are also excited to begin discussions with our Project Docs vendor, Avolve, regarding plans to implement their Plans Anywhere software program. Plans Anywhere enables field staff to view key site information, drawings, documents, and genealogy related to a building or structure by geolocation. This enhancement will allow our inspectors to have the most current and accurate information right at their fingertips in the field. Lastly, as part of the upcoming budget process, we are requesting to add 2 new positions that will focus on strategic areas to improve the overall customer experience. These positions will be funded from revenues collected and not the general fund. The first position is a residential and small business ombudsman. The primary focus of this position is to facilitate residential and small business growth in the city by having a dedicated advocate for these customers, providing one-to-one assistance to ensure that their experience is smooth and successful. Equally important is the creation of an impact fee manager and support staff. This group will bring consistency to the collection, allocation, and expenditures of the city's impact fees. The city collects 4 impact fees, each managed by 3 different departments and 1 outside agency, the school board. This dedicated staff will provide a one-stop shop for all things impact fee related in the city. This brings us to the second part of our presentation. Thanks to your support in 2017, we launched our new permitting system, Infor and Project Docs. These systems have provided us with a considerable amount of data. In 2019, we began to realize the need to have an expert that could take the data, process it, and analyze it in ways that could benefit our operations. In early 2020, we hired our department's first functional analyst, Malini Press. Malini joined our team when our offices were closed to the public. She is most definitely one of the best things that came out of the pandemic for us. She came to us with 20 years of experience in leading operations and analytic teams with Wyndham and Disney. Her expertise with data systems and reporting has been invaluable for our department and other departments as well. Melanie will provide you with a snapshot of how she is putting our data to work to better prepare us for the future. Melanie?
Thank you, Lillian, and thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for the opportunity to be here today and share a little bit more about what we've been able to do with the information that's now being captured through what we call our EDIS environment. And thank you also to all of the partners who have helped to create that environment and maintain it, because certainly the work that I do would not be possible without their efforts. So as Lillian mentioned, the deployment of this environment has just created a lot of new opportunities for us to be able to leverage this information for measurement purposes. So we're going to look at some examples of how we're doing that today. So we are going to be looking at some of our baseline metrics that we are now tracking on a regular basis, and also talk about some of the customer and public-facing opportunities that we now have available to us. And then also want to mention that we're also able to do more ad hoc analysis, so just as things come up, and perhaps there's a program that went into place and we want to be able to compare, kind of what was and what is, we're able to do that now with this information. Okay, so the first chart that we're looking at here is a 10-year view, which is showing us that between 2012 and 2021, we saw a 45% increase in our total permitting activity. So within 2021, we have processed over 36,000 permit applications with a 94% issuance rate. And if we look specifically at what each of these colors represent, so that light blue group across the bottom is our building permit activity, which is 37% of our total permit activity. And within that group, 10 to 15% of that will specifically be new construction. Now we know that a building permit will spawn many sub-permits that fall within those trade categories that Lillian mentioned, so plumbing, electrical, engineering, fire, mechanical, and that's what's represented in that dark blue group. And then those can be standalone permits in those trade groups as well. And then having this view allows us to know kind of, where we're currently trending, but also we want to be able to drill down and see what might be happening within any one of these individual groups. So we're going to drill down a little bit further. The next group that we're going to be looking at is our month-to-date and our year-to-date pacing. So this allows us to take those permit applications, and we know again that there's subsequent activity that's generated out of that, such as building permit reviews, building permit inspections, and also the subsequent issuance of those permits. So this view gives us just high-level, quick read visibility on current volume. So we have our April pacing up top, and then down below that, we have our year-to-date pacing for January through April time period. This is something that we review on a weekly basis. So as the month is building, we're able to see how is this month performing in relation to that same month in the 4 years prior, so that we know if there is anything unusual happening in this current month that we might want to look at into further. And then also, again, how are we pacing in comparison to prior years for this same time period, if there's a trend that we want to look into further there. And as you can see, for 2022, across all of these activity groups, we are trending higher than average. So continuing kind of this drill down concept, now we've looked at it in aggregate, we also want to understand whatever seasonality there might be there that occurs year over year, right? So that when we do have perhaps an upshift or a downshift, we know if this is something that happens every year around this time, or if this is something that's truly unique that might be an indicator of a change in the environment. So taking those same permit activity levels and breaking them down into that seasonal view, what we do know is that, again, we had 36,000 permit applications issued last year, of which we had 34,000 that went into issuance. We also had over 101,000 permit reviews that were completed and 135,000 permit inspections that were completed with a 90% approval rate. And taking this view allows us to see, as we look at those trend lines, where we do have peaks and valleys occurring. So looking in that top left box of our permit applications, you can see that gold line represents 2020, and you see that trough in April and May, right? That is when that first kind of lockdown into COVID occurred, and you can see the rate at which we came out of that lockdown period and how quickly our application levels resumed to normal. You know, we did have some unusual swings that occurred over the course of the year, but the green dashed line, which represents current year 2022, you can see across all of our activity groups, we're performing above typical levels there. But it's not enough to just know at an aggregate level, you know, that volume is healthy, but we also want to know what is that, what are those numbers comprised of, right? What is the mix of that information? So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. The next slide is an example of what we call our divisional dashboards. So this is something that is prepared each week for some of our different discipline groups within economic development. So we have permitting services here. We also have one for planning and for code enforcement. And this is shared with each of the divisional leaders within those groups. And to facilitate the conversation of what might be factors that are influencing current activity levels. So whether it be an internal process change, legislation changes, as Lillian mentioned, or other external factors in the economy. So in that upper right corner, I'm just going to talk for a moment about, I said that, you know, in addition to understanding at an aggregate level, we want to know what those numbers are comprised of. So that's where we'll start to look at things like the mix or the segment that makes up all of those permit applications. So we will look at our commercial level of activity. We'll also look at our residential levels of activity, which would be specifically single family and multifamily. So if we take that segment concept and drill down further into that, what we have here is an example of how we're tracking the value of our new construction permits issued. So new construction is important because it's an indicator of growth and being able to look at you know, what kind of growth it is and where is it happening. So what we see here is that you know, there's kind of two different stories going on. So if you look at our commercial permit activity, you see that for 2022, so this is through the end of April year to date, that we have issued 107,000 new construction commercial permits. However, the construction value of those permits is at a lower level than what it has been in years prior. So that does tell us that kind of the scale and scope of the construction permits that have been issued in that commercial space are of lower overall value. So maybe the size of projects, right, are smaller than what we have seen in recent years, not necessarily indicative of anything, but good for us to be aware that that's the current trend. And what I've provided below this table is a comparison of year-to-date, the highest construction value permits that have been issued so far this year versus what we had at this same time last year, just as an example of, you know, kind of what some of those clients that Lillian talked about, right, some of our higher impact projects that would be the major contributors to a lot of that construction value. Okay. So our last chart that we're going to look at here is our construction trend lines by segment. So again, just being mindful of not enough just to know, you know, at that aggregate level, but this is taking that same year-over-year, multi-month view and showing us again where we have those peaks and indicators to say, you know what, I just want to understand what is driving this particular pop. And so we know that at times it's going to be a particular project that might be, that had a lot of permit activity associated to it. And again, more just that we have that knowledge so that we're going through the due diligence and doing that research, and that if there is something unexpected, that we're taking the time to get that information and understand what the trend there might be. So in 2021, 73% of our single-family permits were issued within 10 days, and 61% of those were done after one review cycle. Additionally, we had 66% of our multifamily permits issued within 10 days, 74% of those after one review cycle. And then lastly, we had 50% of our commercial permits issued within 15 days, and 50% of those after one review cycle. So these are things that we want to continue to establish those baseline metrics. So I'm going to also speak briefly about the public-facing opportunities that I mentioned. We have a City of Orlando open data site, which can be found at data.cityoforlando.net. And these open data portals have become a common way for organizations to share information with the public. And they will often provide summarized content and interactive content, so someone can go through and view visualizations similar to what I've just presented, and do that drill through, set the filters on their own, and export that information out if they want to do further analysis on their own. So Economic Development currently publishes information related to permitting, code enforcement, planning, and business tax receipts on our open data portal, and have been doing so actually since 2019, and we continue to expand on the available content. So we're going to look at an example of something that's currently available on the City of Orlando's open data portal. And what we have here is our Main Street permit activity, and this was prepared specifically to support our Main Street program directors as they are wanting to know what is the building activity going on in my Main Street district. So we worked with them to put this, what's called a data lens together, and this example has some filter set where they would be able to go online, pull up this data lens and say, okay, I want to see new construction for the commercial segment in this year, and it will apply those filters and bring up those permits, and that's the table that you see down at the bottom. And again, they can use that for other subsequent reporting that they need to provide, and just to know what's happening within their district in a more user-friendly way than digging through a bunch of piecemeal reports and Excel worksheets. So the second example that we'll look at here is a map of our business tax receipts opened in the last 5 years. And again, this is something that's currently available to the public. So if someone wanted to know what in their district or in their neighborhood has recently opened, or looking for information on a particular business type, so if I wanted to find all of the restaurants that were opened recently in my area, or all of the retail shops or professional licenses, where are those within my region, you could go here and click on the map and it will bring up that information. And again, also that information is in the table below, where you could see all of the details specifically associated to that business tax receipt, when it was opened, how long it has been opened, or if it has been closed, when did that happen. So a more detailed overview of this open data site or any of this information can be scheduled with you or with your staff, for anyone that would be interested in learning a little bit more about this resource. And again, we'll just continue to build on it to make content available that we know is of interest to the public. So thank you for your time today, and we'll open it for questions.
Okay, thank you. Fantastic information. And like I said, we have so many interactions with the public relating to permitting. It either kind of makes or breaks your day, being able to go to Publix on whether you're going to get good comments or bad comments back. And I can't actually remember the last time I've had a negative comment related to permitting or inspection. So from my perspective, that's a really good thing. Commissioner Hill.
I just had general comments, and I thank you all for a great presentation and the phenomenal work that permitting does on a daily level, along with Sherry Gulch and Brooke, but especially during COVID. I mean, how you all filled that gap. We know that construction didn't stop. Actually, it elevated, and also with people being home during the shutdown, for you all to help the residents navigate these home improvement projects that I also think was at an all-time high when folks were at home and recognized that there were things that they hadn't done in years, and wanted to improve their homes. So thank you all for leading the way, and I know it helped our tax revenue base by all of the things that you all were able to come up with, these new creative ideas, and now we're able to utilize those and make it more expedient when we're interacting with our permitting department. I saw there about the workforce and throughout the nation how difficult it is, not just here in the city of Orlando, when it comes to staffing and filling those gaps. And of course, some of your entry level, I was thinking with the new RISE program, Mayor, maybe we can do some targeted training of some sort, or kind of figure that out on how we can, something similar to what Public Works does with their wastewater program such as that, to start training folks to fit these jobs that we might have a hard time fitting our entry level into that gateway to other jobs in permitting. So how would that look? I'll let you answer that first before.
So Commissioner, I think Thea Walker, our Permitting Services Division Manager, she's already been thinking through that, and I actually think that her and our building official, Roy Eden, have been out to some of the, I think some of the local, like community, Valencia and places like that, and the tech schools, and trying to get the word out. But I know that she's open to suggestions and things like that, because we are having a bit of a struggle with finding.
Sure, I think that'd be a great meeting, a match with Ms. Shirley Walker there at the RISE program and Career Source, and they've already got it figured out. Mayor Dyer's put that funding in place, and maybe we can marry permitting with our existing RISE program. And if I have any suggestions, sure, I'll try to add on to the conversation. Try to take a step back and let those that have been designated run that program. Another program, I know as we're doing new development, and usually our Orlando Police Department goes out to the community and does that SEPTEC program. But I heard that there's a possibility with new development that there's going to be an overall SEPTEC program that you all are implementing. And I was hoping that we can find someone versus our officers having to be deployed out with the important services that they provide as OPD officers. We designate someone specifically to the SEPTEC program versus utilize our officers that can, be out doing public safety things. Have we thought that over?
We can definitely look at that. I know we have someone over at OPD that reviews the plans when they come in, typically at the planning level. And they provide SEPTED conditions and recommendations for those projects that are coming through our process.
I'm more so thinking about, I know some of the officers go out to the different developments and give suggestions. I'm just thinking about the next budget, that we possibly hire a few folks to where I think it's the wages that we pay officers to go out and do public safety. Maybe we can save a few dollars somewhere to where we have a designated folks, not just to review the plans, but to go out and work with the different businesses, and I can see the liaisons doing the residential component, working with our citizens, but when it comes to the developments and different businesses, maybe it's just a thought, Mayor. With that, and I think that's it. I just wanted to share if some point those of us that have main streets, I didn't know that feature was there, which is a great feature, that we can get those monthly or every other month to also know the different businesses that are moving into our main streets. And that's all I have. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, congratulations. What a great presentation. I don't think we have ever done a presentation about the metrics like we just did today, have we? Congratulations, that was awesome. Kudos to you. That will definitely help us explaining to our community, being able to do forecast on all kinds of levels, so thank you. I have a question about a particular item that Tim and and I worked years ago, or I guess I should, it kept putting pressure on Tim, and Tim used to kind of massage me and say, Commissioner, it's coming. And there's certificates of use that we implemented. And I know it takes a while in order for us to catch up with all the businesses. Have we caught up with all the businesses out there with the certificates of use?
We now issue certificates of use with the BTR process.
Okay. But we're still not caught up with every business out there, are we?
I believe we are,
Are we?
right? Yes, I believe we are. The
good.
first year, we didn't make everyone, but then like we've had everybody kind of catching up since then.
Okay. It was a huge concern because the legislature has ambivalent as it can be sometimes. I want to make sure that in case they decided to get away with allowing to charge fees for the BTR,
Right.
we could switch or whatnot. So, Commissioner, as you talk about SEPTED and you open the door, I just want to clarify something. And one of the reasons why it's so important that law enforcement officers do the SEPTED evaluations is because it's, as the acronym for SEPTED, Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design, police officers are the experts on the subject matter. And it does help tremendously for a police officer from the standpoint, especially if he works a district, certain area that they know, like the palm of their hand, at the back of the palm, where they can really contribute to this owner, to the business owner, or to the resident owner, to enhance the facility, the building, based on the trends that may be occurring in a particular place, or in addition to that, is because of the experience that is given to them through these programs that are paid by the Attorney General's office, and they have to stay on top of that. Yes, a civilian, by all means, we have civilians, we have engineers, we have planners that do this, but the only segment, the only element that some of these planners and engineers lack is the constant communication with that community that the law enforcement officer can provide in terms to ascertain certain, I guess, changes in the structure of a building or the environment when it comes to natural surveillance and stuff like that. So although it's definitely a great idea for all of us all our planners to be trained on this, but I think still the element of having the law enforcement officer going out there and doing the evaluation has greater value. And it's just coming from the perspective of the law enforcement. And
I'm not in a disagreement with that. I truly believe that also. But when we start talking about pulling our liaisons, Commissioner, to do those jobs, it's stretching our liaisons far to start doing new development SEPTEC, residential SEPTEC, going into the community when there are public safety issues. So I'm saying there might be additional staff versus pulling our liaisons to do more work when they have a whole district to do different things, and that was my point.
Yeah.
Because I think right now, they're the ones that go out and do these SEPTEC evaluations, is our liaisons. And so now to know that even new development, we're gonna be going out to do the SEPTEC evaluations. Maybe there can be additional, I'm not against having other officers, but not those that are already stretched far and thin.
We can start those conversations with OPD and the planner that they have specifically for SEPTED and our business development office as well, so.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stewart has his hand raised virtually.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Let me just say, first of all, Lillian, thank you to you and your staff. Brooke, I know that she's probably listening while she's going down the river. And I appreciate the work that y'all have done and the metrics that we're moving forward on. I love the idea of the 1-minute video for people. I guess the challenge would be to maybe ask our support staff where they're getting most of the inquiries and calls from, to see if that may help accelerate some of those different types of ones. I'm thinking of a 1-minute video on fences and fence permitting, a 1-minute video on pools and pool permitting, some things that we get a lot of our calls on. The ultimate question I guess I have is where is permitting, and I ask this kind of from a broad perspective, but where is permitting services going? What trends do you see that are happening around the country that we can kind of get ready for outside of what we're currently doing?
Well, I think the obvious answer there would be the digital, having every service available digitally. And I think we were ahead of the game in the sense that we had already transitioned most of our operations to a digital format even before COVID. So, that is probably the biggest request that we get, is people that don't want to have, and actually we have a few things that we can't do digitally, and it's specifically because the state statute doesn't allow us to do it. So working towards continuing to push some of that is probably, the direction that we're going. And, also realizing, as mentioned in our presentation, our diverse customer base, and making sure that we have, services for each one of those types of customers. Because helping a single-family property owner who's doing their permit as a owner builder is a completely different process and experience than, having somebody that is developing a high-rise tower downtown. So really focusing our efforts on making sure that we're providing services for everyone.
And I appreciate that. I love what you guys have been doing. I'll tell you what, the one thing that I am most grateful for, and I don't know how to get more of the information out, is the way that you have continued a communication, I say diary, but an activity of a particular permit, how we're communicating back to our customers, if you want to call it that, because I find that oftentimes that when I get a complaint from an owner who is finding out from a developer or from a builder, and the builder just arbitrarily just blames the city for stuff, and when we come back and find out we've actually communicated back to you, and we just haven't heard back from you. So I mean, that's just happened just recently in the last 2 weeks. I love having that database to be able to say, like, yes, we did email you, yes, we did talk to you, yes, but here's the information that we need back from you, and yes, you've got 3 days to get it back, and I think that has helped us a great deal in terms of tracking. And I know, Lillian, you're involved with that from the very early stages, but I'm telling you, that probably is the one thing that saves us the greatest amount of headache in terms of trying to handle constituent issues. So anyway, congratulations, thank you for the work that you guys do, because I think the mayor said it right. This is one of those few core services that people often overlook, and it's really the idea of making our entire community safer through building codes. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Lillian, would you have your whole crew that's permitting and inspection that joined us today stand up so we can recognize them? Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for the work that you do every single day.
Thank you.
All right, in terms of the workshop, we will stand adjourned, and we will wait for just a second and then start agenda review.